Good morning, guys. So today my video blog is going to be slightly different. I've invited a guest along, one of my fellow classmates, and we're just going to have a brief discussion about some of the key issues that I've come across while being at CodeClan. But before I go into that, I'll just give you an update. So the last time I did my blog, I was in the depths of Java. Now, this was our final language, so I'd done Ruby, JavaScript, and Java. And the last couple of weeks, we have now got the treat, if you can say that, of doing frameworks such as Rails and React. Now, for me personally, I can see why these frameworks are great. They save so much time, they're more efficient, maybe more secure. However, spending the last 10 weeks diving into the depths of vanilla JavaScript and seeing what I can do with a language, then coming across and using React, it kind of feels a bit grubby, a little bit cheating, like I don't deserve this because it's doing half the stuff for me. But I'm sure I'll get over that after I spend a few hours trying to not use a framework. So I'm going to introduce Alistair, who's going to swing over.
Hello.
It's a very expensive studio we have.
I know.
Now, Alistair was a primary teacher before he came to CodeClan, and like me, had no programming experience whatsoever. So we're just going to talk about some of the frightening and some of maybe things that people who are watching this blog might be thinking about before they're doing an academy like CodeClan. So Alistair, we're on week 14, and I just want to ask, what has been the toughest challenges for you?
Toughest challenges, probably coming at designing an application as a whole. The little syntaxes and how the right order to put words and things like that when you're actually typing isn't too. It's just a case of practice. But the biggest challenge is when you want to kind of model a real world program, say like a zoo or a hotel or something like that, and you don't quite know how to bring all the pieces of the puzzle together. So you might know something about this language that, I could use that in my program, I could use these two objects together, but it's just that's the challenging part. But it's a fun challenge. It's not an impossible thing. And that's what we kind of both enjoy, is that kind of planning out stage, which is really important if you want to be able to kind of design a well-written program that uses a lot of different parts.
Because a lot of our viewers probably may not have known about this, but when you see coding, like in movies, it tends to be sort of like a matrix, and you hack out a lot of numbers. I think I've used like maybe one or two maths equations in this whole course. But what's really important is the planning and thinking and design patterns as well. So understanding your relationships with what is speaking to what. So the way I put it across is, if you're writing an essay and you want to discuss quite a large topic, you wouldn't write it all in one paragraph. You structure it, you split it up into smaller paragraphs. Your paragraphs would have a main theme in them. They'd be connecting before and after. There'd be good relationships and it would flow. And then you might do quite a few versions of this draft before you move on to actually doing your final one. And that process is very similar of how programming and designing a program, for me, and I think...
because if you're talking about sharing programs as well, so we had a group project where we had to... You might have two people coding and then having to swap or bring your program into mine. And it's really important that program from someone else is quite readable. And the more readable it is, using clear names as opposed to, like you mentioned, the maths equations. I kind of had this image of coding that's like, let X be this and Y is this. And no, the best programs you see are really explicitly named things. So like, even if it is a zoo, it would be, it might be animal enclosure, things like that. Yeah. So it makes it a lot clearer for other programmers.
And that's sort of the point of the languages that exist today, was to move away from binary, from ones and zeros. It's to make it human readable.
Yeah.
So if someone is programming and is still using X and Y, how, like, it's not as efficient. Like, a programmer might come along and might have to spend quite a lot of time trying to just understand what your objective of that program was and trying to fix any bugs.
That's another challenge, I suppose, actually, that's just kind of dawned on me, was taking someone else's code and that might be kind of almost finished and finding your way through it and finding what is going on at different points. What have you heard about variables? I don't know.
Some of them might know about variables.
So variables are just basically a storage for data, and knowing what is in that variable at certain points in the program. And so is that flow of a program is quite a challenge to pick your way through. It's not a bad challenge. Again, I enjoy that, and I enjoy that challenge. But yeah, it is a challenge.
Yeah, so don't be daunted if you're doing an academy like CodeClan and you come in and you get given an assignment, you're like, oh, I need to create a program that rolls dice or something like that. No, if you can show the thinking and the planning and really understand the fundamentals of what you're trying to create, I feel that is more important. You'll pick up the syntax, you'll pick up the methods that are built into the language. That just takes time to memorize and look at and do your research. But time is a challenge. We had 16 weeks, 60 hours a week. It's pretty tough.
And it's tough to have the time. You might be really interested in something and go, oh, I really want to research this, I really want to go, but you don't really have time to do that. And you just kind of have to park that. And that's a challenge as well, I found, is that the nature of people who seem to be attracted to coding is that you're quite inquisitive. You want to know how something works, and sometimes you just have to kind of go, right, I don't have the time at the moment to fully understand how this is working. I will research that later.
It has been pretty hard because everyone has different opinions of what they like and what they don't like. Mm-hmm. Some people like seeing the newest, flashiest thing and wanting to implement that in their project. But some people maybe just want to get really into the language itself and just see what you can do with it and break it, manipulate it. So as an instructor's perspective, that could be quite hard to teach a group of people that come from no programming background. They all have different aspirations and try to keep that level playing field. But moving on about our course, we're about to finish quite shortly. We only have a couple of weeks left. And Alistair, before the course has started, was there anything you wish you had known that you know now that might have made it easier?
Personally, no. I mean, I just approached it as this is probably going to be quite tough. But if it's not tough, then it's probably too easy and it's not worth doing. But I would say for people who are thinking about doing it and are possibly worried about people who might come on the course who are a lot better than them, I would say just take confidence in your ability to not code. And I know that sounds weird, but this course is not about taking people who can already code and making them better. It's taking people who cannot code one bit, who have the kind of aptitude and the kind of thinking and the passion. You have to be passionate about it. You have to want to do it, and don't worry if there's people in here who can who are just flying ahead with the code, flying ahead, because they've already done it. And so there's, in my opinion, I've paid £4,500. Claire paid £4,500 to learn how to code. The people who can already code pay £4,500 for, in my opinion, I don't know what. I'm not saying if you can code, don't come to the course, but
you've got to think about what's your objective.
What's your objective for the course? And this place markets itself as we are going to take people in Scotland and turn them into coders. And so you have to be confident in your ability to not code, and if you don't understand something, and don't be afraid. There's people probably sitting there going, I don't have a clue what's going on either, and you might be nervous. Oh, I might look a bit silly because everyone thinks there's great coders or there's people who are far better than me. But you've paid this money to be able to code, so you have to take confidence and just
And one thing I learned, there was one week where I found it very, very challenging. I think my mind was just not in it. And, I just took 10 minutes before I went to class and I went for a walk and, and be like, I'm actually going to just enjoy the problems right now. Just enjoy. Maybe not 100% knowing as well. So if you come in every day with that attitude, and then you want to ask questions because you're more curious, and it's about self-belief. Like, if you come onto this course and you get really bogged down because you're not getting it, that's going to be really detrimental. Like, it's all about your own learning. And the one thing I really, really love about this industry, because last night I watched the Android and Google conference, was it's a constant learning progress. They're always bringing out new ways of creating things, new way of doing things. Android's bringing out a new way of communicating with apps in your phone. So you're never going to be like a professional programmer. I don't think that really exists, because if you're saying you're a professional, then are you saying you can't learn anymore? So just enjoy the whole process and really take advantage of the fact that you have some amazing instructors with such a wide range of a background, and exploit that. But you're also bringing your own skills. Remember, these academies want to bring in people who come from a range of different backgrounds. So I come from a linguistic background, Alistair comes from primary teaching, quite different, but we can bring our own ideas and our own understanding of how to click onto concepts.
Yeah, you bring a non-computer kind of view on things, and use...
So making analogies, role play, different ways of targeting the same challenge.
Everything doesn't need to be in computer language. So as much as possible, that's what I'd say as well, before coming on this course, use analogies that you already know. I mean, we must have used packaging up, we acted out kind of posting things to get across, and don't be daunted by people who use the technical language. You don't need to do that, because
question them about it. Be like,
because, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what it means. Well, what does it mean? And then see if they actually know what they're talking about.
And it'll help their understanding as well, because if they can teach you, then their understanding gets better, because you'll be probing them for more information as well. So definitely, when you come on a course like this, do not be afraid to ask questions.
And so like in summary, it'd be just have confidence in yourself and in your ability to not code.
And really enjoy it. But thank you for listening, and thank you for joining me, Alistair.
That's all right.
I'll be doing a blog, just a general overview of my 14 weeks coming up, and how I'm tackling the whole employment and interviews, because you get tech tests and code-based tests, and it's quite daunting. So I'll be going into detail about that in my next vlog. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.